I have never, ever seen a dance like that. And there was jumping. I mean, the Gashmis, howls there. It's jumping. I will not forget, at one point, I saw the Rebbe's shoes in the air. He was jumping so much.
If you've been enjoying this podcast, please like and subscribe so that others can enjoy it as well. In addition, if you've benefited in any way from a Among Chassidim podcast and would like to give something back, you can do so today at derher.org/donate. I'm Yossi Kamen. Welcome to Among Chassidim by Derher, an ongoing farbrengen about life as a chassid, our vibrant connection with the Rebbe, and inspired living shaped by the way he teaches us each and every day. Okay, fine. So we're moving. So now we have the Daled Yomim Shebein Rosh Hashanah,
Shebein Yom Kippur L'Sukkos.
Shebein Yom Kippur L'Sukkos, which is everyone's. What's the lashon? Eiskim b'mitzvos or Sukkim b'mitzvos.
So Rishon L'Cheshbon Avos is only the first day Sukkos.
Right.
Again, before Memches, those days were quite uneventful, I would say.
Before Memches. Oh, you think the Rebbe...
When the Rebbe changed, and
you didn't see the Rebbe,
a lot of
right?
things changed. Didn't see the Rebbe too much.
So now we get...
The Rebbe came out with Mincha Ma'ariv.
Okay, so now we get to the highlight of Tishrei, at least in my view.
But I want to go over whatever the first time I came to the Rebbe was day after Yom Kippur.
Mm-hmm.
Lamed Vav, it seems like the Rebbe started on Yuhan Haga. The day after Yom Tov, the Rebbe started to go to the oil. So
the day after every Yom Tov.
Every Yom Tov. Besides Rosh Hashanah, because it's in Gedalia, the Rebbe didn't go on a fast day. But day after Yom Kippur, the Rebbe went to the oil, Lamed Vav. So I remember when I came to some Saudi, so they said, actually somebody picked us up from the airport and said, the Rebbe already was in the oil, already went home, so we're not going to see the Rebbe that night. So the first time I saw the Rebbe was with Beis Tishrei. But, and there went Isser Chag Simchas Torah also, and from then on, I think, all the years, from Lamed Vav, day after Yom Tov, the Rebbe would go to the oil. So, I just described it. I described it in the forerunner for the Deher.
The original Deher, Leben mit the
Rebbe. I wrote my first 24 hours by the Rebbe. It was like, whatever, it's interesting. I think it's archived. You can get it online, I think. Anyway, seeing the Rebbe the first time, my father admitted to me when the Rebbe came into Mincha, he was looking at me, not at the Rebbe. He wanted to see my reaction. But funny thing is, I'd never seen a video, then a film of the Rebbe before I came to the Rebbe first. So I'd never seen the Rebbe walking or anything. I saw pictures, but I'd never seen a video. So I see the Rebbe walking in downstairs. It's Tishrei, so all the tefillos would be downstairs, besides Kriyas Torah. From Tashel Lamed Zayin, Kriyas Torah also started to be downstairs during Tishrei. The big island. It wasn't hard to ask the Rebbe to come downstairs. That I noticed through the years. Because I remember one time, a bus of tourists came. Half the bus was boys, half the bus was girls. I don't think they were from. But they asked the Rebbe, there was girls in the bus. So the Rebbe downstairs Mincha, even though it was quite empty. But it wasn't hard to ask the Rebbe to downstairs. If there was an excuse, the Rebbe would downstairs. Or even Hey Tavis, the Rebbe downstairs, because a big island. Anyway, so the Rebbe came into Mincha. I remember seeing the Rebbe the first time. I would say he looked different than I ever saw the Rebbe before that or after that. I mean, before I didn't see him, after. Rebbe's face seemed like glowing. It was like, I don't know, it's a different look. And the Rebbe goes to his place, puts on the gartel during Ashri. I'm not sure when that stopped. I think after Memches.
I discussed this on a different podcast with someone. I don't think we came up with the explanation, but the Rebbe had this hanhaga to dafke put on the gartel and shul by mincha, and then later the Rebbe stopped that.
And to Ma'ariv, the Rebbe would come in with the gartel on, but only by mincha. And I'm going to cut out a few details. I have to go through every single detail. But just seeing the Rebbe, right after mincha, the Rebbe turns around, and the Rebbe goes over to Aron Kodesh, touches the pareichas, and Levi Frieden, the photographer, was there. That was his first year at Tash Lamed Vav. First year as official photographer.
Mm-hmm.
So as the Rebbe saw him standing there next to Aron Kodesh, the Rebbe gave him a beautiful smile. And I see, you have to learn the Hanhagas. I see the Rebbe smiles, everybody smiles. And the Rebbe walked. And the Rebbe was going, and somewhere near the Bima, in the middle of the shul, the Rebbe suddenly stops. The Rebbe stopped, everybody ran over there. By the time I got over there, the Rebbe was already out of the shul. But the Rebbe asked then a Bacher who was taking pictures, I was going, Tanya Heint, how much Tanya do you know about Peh? I mean, went over there and heard him telling, the Rebbe asked me how much Tanya knew about Peh.
This is an English guy? You want to hear, like, one?
No,
another Bacher?
No, American Bacher. 8 years later, the Rebbe spoke about it. Chav Cheshvan, Tashmem Dalet. It's a mincha Zeit. I asked him if he learned Tanya. So what's Tanya? Photography is a Dora Choshev. Learning Tanya came by Yom, came by Laila, came by...
A knacket photografias. Same sicha?
Maybe. I don't know that one.
The knacket photografias.
No, but this sermon, the Rebbe was like, mincha Zeit.
The Rebbe did this a few times.
Yeah, but this was like mamish a sicha about it.
So it's referring to that time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 8 years later, the Rebbe speaks about it.
There's a video by Shachar, the Rebbe walks in
straight
over to someone, Tanya.
Birchas Chachama.
Yeah, that morning.
Yeah, the morning Birchas Chachama. What's interesting, the Rebbe asked the person who's holding the camera, not the one who's holding the video.
Interesting.
Personally, I feel that video, you have more to learn. One of the things the Rebbe says, you took a picture yesterday, you took a picture the day before, why are you taking a picture again? What are you going to get from it? So there's no anhagas, which people, they write down, they saw such anhaga, different anhaga, but what do you get from just taking a picture again and again? That's what the Rebbe was. So, I don't know, my own boichsvara, when it comes to videos, the Rebbe was not so against it, because a video does have a, there's something more you could learn from it.
I'm thinking about them, theorizing about this more. There was opposition from the Rebbe for pictures, and the Rebbe was told that's rooting the shot Parnasa, so the Rebbe led. But video, so
there are mentions in that Sicha about Parnasa.
Right, but the video later, when Hildava Krinsky wanted to start the videos, the Rebbe, and Yudel was doing the videos in the Lama, I think the Rebbe liked it.
Even though in that Sicha also, the Rebbe says, Nachta satellite. The Rebbe didn't say it in a positive way. I remember one of Hildava Krinsky, I think it was, the one who started Gem, and he was like, or maybe it was Friedman, one of them anyway, one of the family, was saying the first time they ever mentions the satellite, it wasn't positive.
Publicly, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, so I was just saying that this is what happened that first mincha, I was there. That night there was Yechidus between Yud Beis and Yud Gimel. So last time was Yechidus at Tuni Kippur and Sukkos. So my father asks Biyam Klein, are you going to Yechidus? So Biyam says, you just came, you already wanted to go to Yechidus? But later years, I found out there was an Haga.
Before and afterwards?
No, it was an Haga. First you hear Torah, and then you go to Yechidus. Even the Bachram who came before Yud Shvat, Tashin Yud, and they wanted to go into Yechidus as soon as they arrived, and the Friedrich Rebbe said, after Shabbos. And they were wondering, and Rabbi Simpson, then he explained, he said, Shabbos, the Rebbe is chassidishe. Now we don't hear the Maimer, but the Indian, first comes chassidishe and then Yechidus. So maybe that was the Indian. L'Poilai didn't have Yechidus that year, because our ticket was the day after Isser Chag, and there was no way we could change it. So we're talking in here, and And my father was asking Chodakov, and there was nothing to do. I mean, Chalamayid already, the Rebbe was already Mediyah, he's going to the Oil, Isur Chag. So I didn't have Yechidus, but because of that, my father sent me the next year for Tishrei, so I was Zoicha to another Tishrei.
Because you didn't have Yechidus?
Because I didn't have Yechidus then, so I came the next year, so I had Yechidus Lamed Zayin.
Just by yourself?
Yeah. I went to the Rebbe's room by myself. Yeah. I was twice in Yechidus. Lamed Zayin and Tafshin Mem. Very short, but it was in Yechidus. What are we up to? So, it based Tishrei, Gimel Tishrei. Okay, so that night was Yechidus. So I remember the Bachram discussing if the Rebbe, usually after Yechidus, the Rebbe would come at 1 o'clock in those years, but because the Rebbe has to go to the oil, because it's Yud Gimel Tishrei, so Mustama, the Rebbe will come at 12 o'clock, and they were right. I already told you before about the Goimel, so I'm not going to repeat it. But me benching Goimel, I'm not going to repeat it again. And that night was Farbrengen. The Rebbe came back from the oil, so the Rebbe Mincha downstairs. Till the end of Tashim and Dalad, there would always be a break between Mincha and Ma'ariv, even though Mincha was late, was after Nacht. But nevertheless, there was always a break between Mincha and Ma'ariv. After Memdalad, El Memdalad, that changed. And the Rebbe started having Mincha and Ma'ariv together. And even Shabbos by Farbrengen, if it was late, also Mincha and Ma'ariv together. That's a new Hanagat started El Memdalad. So after Mincha, they went upstairs to his room, and there was Mediyah that Ma'ariv will be, I think, 9:15, whatever, and then a Kurz of Farbrengen. Usually a Kurz of Farbrengen meant 2 hours, Berech. 2.5. So Rebbe comes in the Farbrengen, and I told this already before about the L'chaim, when I said L'chaim the first time. Okay, anyway, first timer. The Rebbe said that he wants all Archim to go to, especially Archim, to show that Yidden are Balabas in the world. So Archim should go and be Mesameach Yidden and Chalmei Sukkos. So to show that Yid, wherever he is, he's comfortable, he's Balabas. So Archim especially should go to all the different places. It's a big shturim then going to Chalmei.
So it must be the Sheva and other places.
Sheva be Mesameach. The Rebbe stood up by, then the Rebbe gave out dollars. It's the first time we're getting dollars from the Rebbe. I mean, it was a tankist. So I went over. By the time I went over, in the early years of dollars by Farbrengen, it would still be in the middle of Farbrengen, and the tankist would go around and give dollars. It was hard. You had to climb over the people, and especially I wasn't used to it. When I came to the Rebbe, so the Rebbe gave me a pack of dollars. But as soon as I went off, somebody says to me, everybody has dollars already. Take for yourself and give me the rest. I'll give back to Maskiris. Because especially there were loads of tankisten.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to squeeze back inside, and it was an interesting, it was a freilich of bringing. And the Rebbe said to a few nigunim to whistle. Remember Yossi Tifron Allah Shalom is next to me. And he's whistling. I think there was 2 nigunim, one after another, to whistle. By the third nigun, he's still whistling. He has his eyes closed, and he's whistling with all his koyach. And the Rebbe looked at him and smiled. He was like in a different world. Anyway, at the end, the Rebbe said, you're going to sing Kiva Simcha, any who are going out of Golus. So the Rebbe started Kiva Simcha, and the Rebbe stood up and made Freilich. It wasn't very unusual in those years, but it was still an interesting thing. That's already the night before Sukkos. And Sukkos used to be a peaceful Yom Tov once upon a time. Before Sukkos Sheva, it was Lefyerech, Sukkos. The only real Freilich night was the second night Sukkos. Besides that, it was...
Why the second night?
Second night is always Farbrengen Simchas Sheva. It was a well-known thing. Officially, the second night of Sukkot is Simchas Sheva because in the Beis HaMikdash, so the second night was always Farbrengen, loads of Farbrengens. Rendel Futfas used to Farbrengen. That was always a big Farbrengen. The house where I was staying, Rendel Futfas was an uncle, so he used to come to that Sukkah always to Farbrengen. And anyway, so I remember just the second night, most times when the Rebbe came in that sukkah, they were saying, and the Rebbe came in, there was some Eided on the way to his place, and started Ma'ariv, or whichever tefillah it was. Second night sukkahs, they were singing Ala Sela Hachach. And the Rebbe comes to his place, the Rebbe puts down the siddur, turns around, the Rebbe starts clapping. Turn around to the Eilam, it's like, wow. It's like a really exciting. It's very unusual that a regular tefillah, Rebbe should be ma'ided like that. Well, later Lamed Ches, the Rebbe did that every tefillah. But that was, they say a simon because of what happened afterwards in Simchas Torah, the Rebbe wasn't with the Eilam. But that was unusual. But even Mem Aleph also, the Rebbe did that. And, sorry, I remind myself now, but Chalmait Sukkos Tashim Mem Aleph, and there's ma'ided every tefillah, especially before Ma'ariv. So one of the times it's in Ala Salah, and the Rebbe comes in, it's Mamish and Meridik. If you look at the video, it's on the Tishrei video of it, which Jem gave out. The black and white one, there's a Freiden video, but it's not that good. The black and white one focuses on the Rebbe. You see the Rebbe is seriously happy. It's like hard to explain. It's serious for Simcha.
Well, that's the Rebbe's Simcha.
But it's, like that particular thing, I mean, that looks like what the Rebbe looked like in Simchas Torah. That the Rebbe's shoulder slightly as he's clapping. And as the Rebbe turns around, Niggin's over, and Hakafos used to be the same way. As soon as the Rebbe turns around, the Niggin's over, Hakafos over.
General Ala Sela Hachach is
the
top Niggin.
Yeah. They say one of
Not sure why.
They say one of the years Tashel Lamed Gimel, maybe early Lameds. So the Mincha was upstairs, Yom Simchas Torah. The Rebbe came into Mincha, and they were singing Ala Sela Hachach. The Rebbe got up on his chair and Pashma Oided for 10-15 minutes. They say whoever was there will not forget it. People saying, I missed it, I was there, or that, but everybody remembers that.
I think it has something to do with the Niggin. I don't know what I'm saying.
I mean, you could say a bunch of Nigunim that the Rebbe really liked, but the Rebbe liked
also like it also works very well, musically. I don't know.
That's a very Yishmael.
I thought about it over the years, like what's this Niggin?
I wouldn't know why, but anyway, but there's a bunch of Niggin that the Rebbe really liked. So. Also, Ala Sela is one of the Nigunim that Minig Lubavitch will sing it by Hakafos, one of the Nigunim. The Kavudik Nigunim. Ala Sela, Charkaner Shoim. There's others, not too many more. I mean, the Hakafos Nigin, but that was changed. Sometimes the Rebbe changed it, especially when he danced by himself in the later years. But generally, I say Sukkos is a peaceful yontif. I'm not going to go into the Farbrengens, the second night. And so Lamed Vav was a strange thing. It pushed from the second night of Sukkos. It poured until Shmini Atzeres. Pasha almost did not stop raining. I don't remember a single meal we were able to eat. It was like run in with your coat and just eat fast and go out. It was Pasha pouring the whole time. It's a zettel from the Rebbe about it. It's printed in Sukkos. Somebody asked the Rebbe, how can you have the name of Simcha if you with such a matzav of raining, and it says in the Mishnah, Ke'ilei shafach rabbi kitin b'fanov, so how could you have Simcha? So the Rebbe said, since you already made the bracha leishav sukkah, which is the Rebbe's chiddush also, to say leishav sukkah even though it's raining. To say Shabbos Chalmaid Sukkos Tashim Chavzayim was pouring, the Rebbe came in and the Rebbe Dafka said leishav sukkah loud. So Elam should hear you say leishav sukkah even though it's raining.
So I think the Rebbe also said to bring inside, right?
So there in the settle, the Rebbe says, since you already said leishav sukkah that day, so it can't be that the Mishnah doesn't accept your sitting in the sukkah. And so Simmer that his vadas should be babayis and Eifen of Manucha or whatever exact Lashon. So it's hard, the Bachram were discussing it. It's hard to understand this because we do continue to Farbring the sukkah also. Whatever. I
think that year they did. They didn't eat, but they
whatever.
They Farbring inside.
Actually, Hoshana Rabbah night.
I think someone was describing it. Mendel Farbring in the Zal, and he was sticking his head out. I don't know.
I heard about that. The Hoshana Rabbah night. So after Tilim, so Dov Raskin announces, because the Rebbe said to him, Sameach all Yidden all over, somebody suggests, what about here? So Shemink Farbring here also. I wasn't there. I was a young boy. My father took me home to sleep. I have to tell him. But the guys went into the sukkah. It's pouring. And they say before the Rebbe went home, they would go home. Shana Rabba, the Rebbe would go home by Loisa Shachar. So the Rebbe looked inside the sukkah and saw them farbringing, and the Rebbe said, "Lafum Tzaira Agra."
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so it was raining so much that Shana Rabba, the Rebbe gave out lekach next to his room, and not in the sukkah. So I got lekach next to the Rebbe's room. So it's the only year that happened. It was pouring.
Well, later years it happened.
On Shana Rabba?
I think in Obey's wasn't that the room?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I have to check. I don't know.
Okay.
But usually the Rebbe gave out by the sukkah.
Okay. One of the integral components of being a chassid are the chassidishe Yamim Tevim and Yom Pagra. Whether it's Hey Tevis, Yud Shvat, Yud Aleph Nisan, or Gimel Tammuz. These days give us an opportunity to connect with our Rabbeim, to connect with each other, and be better chassidim. What is the story behind each of these days? How did the Rebbe commemorate and celebrate these days? And most importantly, what are the lessons, the takeaways, and the action items Hamaisa Hua Ikr needed for each of these days? All of this and much, much more are answered in the new set recently published by Der Herr. Our Days is a journey through the Chabad calendar in story, meaning, and practice. With over 700 beautiful, glossy pages with elevated content, beautiful, beautiful photographs, you, your family, and friends will enjoy and live with each chassidishe Yom Tiv. This book is a must for every Lubavitcher home, for every shul, for every school. It is a perfect gift item. This will not collect dust. It will be used day after day, month after month, year after year. You can have this set. Go to derher.org/Our Days. Order your set today and start living with chassidishe Yom Tov. So, Simchas Torah, you were by the Rebbe from Lamed Vav till...
I just want to mention one more thing. That was interesting. The second day Sukkos was the first day you used Lulav and Esrog. And the Rebbe would always stand and wait until the Olam does their hakafa. And then they would start continuing to down. So the Rebbe would first go, make the hakafa, and everybody behind the Rebbe. But the Rebbe would stand and wait every single day. They would always look at the Olam. It was all the years. So they were standing, just waiting. The chazan, well, he didn't know, or whatever the reason was, he screams, Laman Das, the meaning is that you put back the Sefer Torah, and as you put it back to the Sefer Torah, the chazan screams Laman Das, and everybody else repeats the pasuk. And here, he screamed Laman Das, and there was this big esrog in his hand. The Rebbe turns to him like, what are you doing? So that was, when the Olam finished going around the Bima, so the Rebbe himself, as he turns around, the Rebbe started himself. Shia. It was like unusual. Anyway, you say, okay, let's get out some Simchas Torah. As I said, Sukkos was peaceful Yom Tov then, till Mem Aleph. And Simchas Torah, I remember Angela Jacobs called me up the first time and said, describe, what was it, the end of the nuns? Maybe not so much the end, on Zion and Ches, something like that. If I describe Tishrei for him, there's no problem, I'll describe Tishrei. I'm speaking about Tishrei, Shana and Kippur, Sukkos. Comes to Simchas Torah, this is new word about Simchas Torah. He's interviewing me on the phone. I said, I can't describe Simchas Torah. He left me alone. The next year, he calls me again. He says, you have to help me. Nobody wants to talk about Simchas Torah. Everybody asks, they all say you can't describe Simchas Torah. I said, I'll try as much as I can, but it's indescribable. So I usually give the 3 hakdamas. And I say very bekitzer. In Kutei Deburim, it brings down Rebbe Chassidus explaining the Yichidus HaKafos by the Alter Rebbe. He said the first time he was with Yichidus HaKafos by the Alter Rebbe used to do HaKafos first by himself with a So it's the family and the Yechidus Kula, and then you would come out to the whole Olam. So the Yechidus HaKafas, the Alter Rebbe himself said the whole Ataresa. He was Chazan like for the whole Ataresa, and he was Chazan for every Hakafa. Rebbe Pinchas Reis writes that the first time I was Zoiche to be by the Yechidus HaKafas, I started to have a little understanding what a Yid must have felt like when he went to the Beis HaMikdash, Leirois or Lehirois. The first time I had such a understanding. That's one Indian. Another Indian, I'll tell you like this. There's I would say Rebbe Pinchas Koritzer had a chassid of Rebbe Pinchas Koritzer had a dream. A chassid who had already passed away came to him in the dream. So the chassid who's in this world says, how is it up there? He says, it's very good. Es kommt nicht to a Shabbos by Rebbe Pinchas Koritzer. So the chassid wakes up, he's wondering, well, what do you mean es kommt nicht? Shabbos in Olam Hazeh? He in Gan Eden. He thought to himself like this. It says a Shabbos is me'ein Olam Haba. So by every person, Shabbos is me'ein of his Olam Haba. When you come to Rebbe Pinchas Koritzer, he invites you to his Shabbos. His me'ein Olam Haba is more than your whole Olam Haba. Mm-hmm. I was thinking the same thing. The Rebbe invited us into his Simchas Torah. And that's probably, maybe, whatever, the reason why you can't describe it. You push it, you felt like you're in a different Olam. There are certain times that people tell you that in Yechidus, or even the moment you're getting $1 from the Rebbe, you're suddenly in a different dimension. Time has a different meaning over there. Everything has a different meaning. So Hakafas by the Rebbe has this. The Rebbe Pashta invited us into his Olam. Now they printed in Tashlamates, I think it was, a book called Rebbe. Whatever, not Kahos in Eretz Yisrael. Articles from people about the Rebbe. I don't have the book, but I saw in that article, somebody writes like this, an Israeli Itonai, reporter. So he writes like this. For years I've been hearing that you can't describe Simchas Torah by the Rebbe. Now I'm a reporter. My job is to describe things. Until one year I decided I have to go there just to describe Simchas Torah by the Rebbe. But what should I tell you, he says. He's writing this in his article. He said, what should I tell you? It's the first time I see something you cannot describe. What should I tell you? Describe the bleachers of the Bachrim up to the ceiling, jumping up and down. Should I describe to you the Tnuis, the Meratzis of the Rebbe, the way he's Ma'oida the Niggin? None of this will give you the atmosphere, the avir, which there is by the Rebbe's Hakafas. You can't. He says, first time in my life I see something you cannot describe. And I'll tell you something else. When I was in Shlichus in Bogota, Shlochim used to come. It's a literature yeshiva. He tells me for whatever reason it was, 1 year he was here Simchas Torah. So he's by the Rebbe. He said when he saw Simchas Torah by the Rebbe, a literature, he says, Ani asurli, how could I prevent my son from experiencing the same experiences? He says he traveled specially to the Rebbe another time. I figured that was Tashim and Beis, whatever. I traveled to the Rebbe specially just to give my son the opportunity to be by the Rebbe's Hakafas. I don't know, it's like edelkeit, whatever, but understanding, the feeling. It was amazing just to hear that from him. And after saying that, you can start explaining, describe whatever you can describe. You can't describe Simchas Torah by the Rebbe. Well, I'd say most years, before the Rebbe comes in, the night of Simchas Torah. I mean, it's all the same. Shmini Atzeres, Simchas Torah, they go into different differences. Shmini Atzeres, basically, Ma'ariv would be at 7:30. And Hakafas would start at 9:30. Shmini Atzeres, after Lamed Ches, started at 9. Same thing with Farbrengen and Lil Simchas Torah. They try to make things a little easier to make the half hour earlier. But in general, I'm describing. They're coming into Hakafas, which is more than... So, a lot of the years that I remember, Baruch Hashem was 10 Simchas Torahs. In the later years, so they generally would sing, So there would be a circle, people dancing. Once it got fuller, there's no room to dance. So people, singing on the place. And the Rebbe comes in and make a shvil for the Rebbe to come through. And the Rebbe is ma'idit. He comes in with siddur. everybody I've spoken to says the same thing. Usually the Rebbe comes with the siddur, he puts down the siddur and shtender. But everybody remembers by hakafas, he puts down his siddur with both hands. To know him. And then the Rebbe turns around, hey, yeah. And suddenly the whole 770 is like one shtick. It's not separate people anymore. Everybody controlled by the Rebbe's hands, by the Rebbe's movements, and everyone's together. It was an amazing feeling, just all together. And then there starts Ataresa. There was scream Ataresa. The recording there is from Mashiach Sefer Torah, is nothing compared to that.
Well, now we have another recording.
Yeah, I don't know if it's. I'm sure it's not Larotzens. I don't know if it should be mentioned in public or not. But the way there was saying, and you could hear the Rebbe over most of the shul. The Rebbe screamed so loud. I remember people even saying Lamed Ches. I wasn't here, but the people saying the way the Rebbe in the beginning was screamed Ataresa also. All his koyach. All psukim. Ataresa is loud. It comes to Kibbutzian, it's like way louder. And then after each Ataresa, the Niggin, Simchas Torah night and Simchas Torah day is also Faratzta. The Rebbe would say the pasuk go Faratzta 3 times. That's a letter from Rashag to the Rebbe, asking the Rebbe to continue saying the Faratzta.
Oh, so that the letters to continue it?
Yeah, that's if I remember correctly.
I thought I remembered that it was like Hatzah. Okay, interesting. Okay.
I thought he was asking the Rebbe to continue.
Okay.
They say the people have been saying that the Rebbe used to add a pasuk in Hinim Evyoisam Meretz Safa.
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Yeah.
It's on Hakel.
Yeah.
But then they figured out it was only one time that the Rebbe added on Hakel.
Right.
So maybe the other time was because of the Rosh Hashanah. But it was interesting. Because on Memches they printed hakafas, to give out. Everybody should have copies.
You put that in?
They put it in, but
They
the Rebbe didn't say it. I remember Ferish, the Rebbe did not say it. Anyway, then Chabad the Rebbe to go to Hakafa, the first Hakafa. And the Rebbe go to Sefer Torah, go to the middle. Whoever was close by would wish the Rebbe Lebbe Ma'ayar. The Rebbe would say Gamatim. That's the main reason people would say that, so the Rebbe should say Gamatim. One time by day.
It can't be for the Rebbe, it has to be for yourself.
We're all, we want to cash in as many brachas as we can.
Yeah.
So one year I actually kissed the Sefer Torah while the Rebbe was holding it. By day was less people. Simchas Torah day was less people than by night. By night was like... I remember the first time I was there, they were trying to catch a place. And I got the most dangerous place in Lamed Vav. It was between the Russians and the Frenchies.
Danger zone.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem was a little closer to the Russians. In the middle of Shmini Atzeres night, it's Shabbos also. In the middle of one of the akofas. Isn't Chabad Allah Francism in the akofa. I blinked, I'm telling you. 1 second they were there, 200, 300 guys. Well, 1 second they're there, the next second they're not there. They just all jumped down again and they landed on top of one bacher, had to give them oxygen. Before Lamed Ches, there used to be near the Ches in the middle, where they would dance, 2 huge bottles of oxygen, the green, whatever you call it.
Like for Hatzal?
The metal, yeah. Label Pesritsky standing next to them. It was like, and they had to give him oxygen, this bacher. And it was like, and I see one bacher standing there. The benches were empty. Suddenly, they all cleared out, went to the hakafa. And I see one bacher, minus his hat, minus his jacket, minus one shoe. He bends down, picks up 2 tzitzis, rolls them up, puts in his pocket. They were wild, those guys. Anyway, the Russians had, from one of the beams on the window of the Weiberschule, the Kingston side, so he had a rope. So the last guy, because it's a drop, so he had a rope there to hold on to.
The Simchas Torah equipment.
Everybody had their own. At those years, I don't know why, until Lamed Ches, they would block the Kingston Weiberschule. So if there's any ladies in there, they couldn't see a thing. But I was on top. Baruch Hashem, I had my sweater on because the air conditioner was blowing right onto me. So I turned it the flaps. They should close somewhere else. So I said, what are you doing? Everybody, don't close it. I said, I'm not closing it, I'm just turning it. It's supposed to be like freezing. But it was good. I mean, Shmini Atzeres night. Lamed Vav, the Rebbe comes in, it was quiet, and the Rebbe turns around to the yai, and then the whole, remember the roar of the crowd, like Simchas Torah began. What should I say? Lamed Vav before the Farbrengen before Hakafis. I don't know, I was there for the first time with my father, whatever. I sat down with my father on first table in Mamish, opposite the Rebbe. The Rebbe came, we didn't go to Teluch. I don't know if I knew about it or not. It doesn't make a difference. I was there. It's the only time I saw the Rebbe make Kiddush by night. The Rebbe came in, he made Kiddush. So I suddenly realized, I see the Rebbe like sitting, with holding the kais, and suddenly I see the Rebbe going lower. So I guess the Rebbe was like sort of on his knees. He wasn't sitting. But he didn't want to stand.
For the whole thing,
whole Kiddush. Mm-hmm. He didn't want to make the whole Olam stand.
Or you thought the Rebbe was sitting.
I thought he was sitting, so I see the Rebbe going lower. It's made Kiddush. Very freilich of Farbrengen. The Rebbe explained that already, so usually the Rebbe explains Psukim already. So. And in the middle of Farbrengen, the Rebbe says to, you want all the details of Farbrengen, I mean, in the middle of Farbrengen, the Rebbe says, should sing a niggin of Sfas HaMedina with words from Sfas HaMedina. So they started singing from 770, go marching out. The Rebbe didn't move, as if they're not singing. So they realized the Rebbe doesn't want that niggin. So they're quiet. I guess the Bachman discussing what niggin to sing. So the Rebbe looks to Beryl Zaltzman. Zaltzman singing Sofrusish. So he sang a song. I don't know the words for sure. I don't know. He sang in Russian. Mi Chabadniki, da 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 da. And there was a light a little bit. And after he finished singing in Russian, they have to sing something in English. So there was nu was the Madrichim from the Machnis. Finally, he started singing just one Torah, just one Shabbos, just one Hashem. Can't be singing. I knew the words from a different song from England. I didn't know the tune. It's an American tune, Yankee Doodle.
Okay.
I didn't know the song, and so I'm trying to catch the tune as opposite me is old chassidim on the other side of the table. No, zing, zing. I was saying the word. I knew the words. I didn't know the thing. The Rebbe was clapping. It was wow, mamish clapping. And then Rebbe said they should sing a song in French, a French song with French words. It was the Zabu Hatzir. The Rebbe always used to show him to whistle.
Nee.
So I had to him, the Rebbe showed him. He had a huge hat then. He was like sort of a leader of a group of Frenchies next to him. So on the Rebbe's right, the Rebbe looked at him. They sung the national anthem with an extra piece which I hadn't heard before. It wasn't in Aderes Vemuna.
Right.
They added it later. So
they sang the
sung
anthem
the whole anthem
with the
words,
French
words. And there was looking, and there was why he did them like that. You know, then there was some singing on niggin of Mama Lashon. So the Rebbe was ma'ided the niggin, but not as much as the first niggin. Not as much as the English one.
The English one.
Yeah, not as much as the English one. Well, the Rebbe was ma'ided. Then it says was on singing on niggin of Lashon HaKodesh was his aim kol hasafis. So I figured there meant Lashon Neufel and Lashon. Before he said Mama Lashon, so Lashon HaKodesh is aim kol hasafis. So the mother of all languages. So he sang a Mipi Kale, and there was ma'ided to his head. And it came the end of Farbrengen, so you have to announce that everybody should leave the shul to be able to set up for Hakafas. At that time was no Kiddush yet. I think that started Mem Daled, something like that. Mem Gimel, maybe?
It was a Kiddush after...
Kiddush between the Farbrengen and Hakafas. Nach Markovich still does it till today, you know.
On the outside.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, so he got up, the old Telshevsky, to announce. I guess it's a tradition in Lubavitch before you make an announcement. Shah, Shtila. I don't know exactly what happened at that moment. I didn't notice, but I see Lebel Grona tell him to get up onto the table. Like he's, okay. He got up on the table. He starts again. Shah, Shtila. the Rebbe says, "Zok Zemesh L'chaim." So he said, "L'chaim." He starts again, Shah Shtil. The Rebbe says, "Zog D'raimol Azev Yikol Nidrei."
Did I know?
Say 3 times Shah Shtil,
Okay.
just like Kol Nidrei. He was the chazan for Kol Nidrei always. So he says, Shah Shtil, Shah Shtil, Shah Shtil. Rebbe says, "Zog D'raimol Yedamol Ufheben the Kol." Say 3 times. Each time he says, raise your voice. It's not really chazan. Shah Shtil, Shah Shtil, Shah Shtil. And the Rebbe is smiling the whole time. Oh, while all this is going on, there's a beautiful smile. Then he announced that we should go out, whatever. And then the Rebbe said, Bracha Chayna. That's the only time I heard the Rebbe sing this niggin. It's Yom Tov, so there's no recording, but today, hey! No, the Rebbe left. It's the only time I heard the Rebbe sing this niggin. Without words. It was just
You heard the Rebbe singing it.
I heard the Rebbe sing it without
They
words.
sing in front of the Rebbe.
Yeah, loads of times. I'm saying here I heard the Rebbe sing it himself. And then the Rebbe came to Hakafis. So Hakafis, well, I mean, Freilich Rigunim. I'll get into some of them, but one of the okay, at the end of Hakafis, Leil Simchas Torah. So the Rebbe, instead of the Rebbe going out the way the Rebbe came in from the side of the tables, they went in the middle of the tables, towards the Ches, where he danced. So he comes to the end, there's a table in the way, where seemingly the Rebbe would do that every year until Lamed Ches. So I don't know, I was dreaming for a second, and one of my friends says, look, look, look. And I see the Rebbe's like climbing up onto the table. Seemingly the Rebbe pulled a box from under the table, stood on the box, stood on the table, so suddenly the tables are quite high, but stepped up onto the table, and as the Rebbe jumped down, and as he jumped down, he went like this. And so I don't know what niggin it was, but
It was
like,
blocking the Rebbe?
the table, because
Right.
the Rebbe walked to the middle, so the table's blocking the Rebbe.
Yeah.
So the Rebbe stepped up. They say other years the Rebbe like swung himself over, but here was a box, and the Rebbe stood on the table and jumped off. But I remember as he's jumping off, the Rebbe went like that. And then they had to schlep Rashag, the Yaman and label. Schlep Rashag over the table. Chadakov, whatever. Anyway, that was Lama 12. I noticed something interesting in Lama 12 during the day Farbrengen. And it's a long Farbrengen. They were washed before Shkia, say around 7:30, something like that. And I remember 25-1, because I was standing behind the Rebbe then. I came a little later, so I didn't have a place, I stood behind. And so I was seeing the clock the whole time. And like 25-1, Berach, there started the Maimer. It was like, it's a long Farbrengen. It's a 6-hour Farbrengen. In the middle of Farbrengen, it was Freilich. It was one Yid over there, his name is Koch, Yisroel Koch, from Chabad. They say that he was very, very active in Mitzvot film. So the Rebbe told him to say L'chaim quite a number of times. At one point I see the Rebbe, I don't know how the cup got to the Rebbe, a plastic cup, but the Rebbe opens the water, the pitcher of water which was for the Rebbe, and the Rebbe poured a little bit of water inside the cup. And the Rebbe handed it to Label, fill up with wine, and he gave it to, Label handed it to Yisrael Koch. I guess this was the last cup. he was quite, whatever. So he stands up. He says, Fran Yidin Eretz Yisrael, we sagen, sie will nicht legen kein Film, bis der Lubavitcher Rebbe kommt zu Eretz Yisrael. And the Rebbe with a big smile. Like, sit down. It was like, it was very, at the middle of the Rebbe, I noticed something. There's again, I don't want to be Meirich, but there was a whole Maisa that Rabbi Sudak once told us against a Maisa of how the Rebbe once sort of explained that the Rebbeim come to the Farbrengen.
On Simchas Torah?
No, in general. Wow. In general. So against my Shavuos Tashin Tezvav, you could look it up. And he said then they realized the first time the Rebbe straightened his tie, would raise himself up. They realized it's the Rebbeim are coming. So having heard that, here I see something interesting. Like at one point, the Rebbe is like clapping the Tuanigan. The middle of the Rebbe goes very fast. It's like almost you shouldn't notice. Like a half a minute or a minute later, there was raise himself up. I mean, I saw the Rebbe many times passing from one side to the other. So he didn't raise himself up. But here, like half a minute after he straightened his tie, the Rebbe raised himself up. So it tells you something different. In Yonim like that.
Among Chassidim is brought to you by chassidishe derher. We live in a chaotic world. A world where for us Chassidim is a seinu, lei ra'inu, we do not have the ability to hear and see the Rebbe on a daily basis. Yet we know that the Rebbe is very much with us, and the Chassidus Chabad is alive and thriving more than ever before. One needs to only tap into it. Chassidishe derher provides you and your family with the tools necessary to tap into all of this. Whether it's the monthly magazine, the way it all began, whether it's derher books, derher online content, and so much more. Men, women, and children throughout the world benefit and use these tools on a daily basis. Whether it's children enjoying the children's magazine that comes along with the regular derher, or enjoying the children's podcast, whether it's bachrim in yeshivas receiving the derher, whether it's girls in high schools enjoying their hair club in their local high school. People all over the world and from all walks of life enjoy and utilize these tools and take advantage of it. If you're not already subscribed to the Derher Monthly Magazine, do so today at derher.org. That's derher.org. Derher is a dynamic organization which is committed to continue providing these tools, grow on a constant basis, and do all that we can to help this effort. Baruch Hashem, it takes a lot of resources and finances to make this all happen. You can be part of Derher through your financial support as well, through visiting our website derher.org, or through contacting us to setting up a meeting. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
I should say, there are different Simchas Torah. Every year has its own chiddush. And Tosh Lamed Zayin is the first time the Rebbe said a sicha in the middle of Hakafas. Then, like I mentioned before, the Indian of what was going on in Chevron. So before Hakaf Hey, I think it is, Melech Elamim, so the Rebbe turned around to Mashpia Pinchas Katz, who was announcing who should go to Hakafas. So the Rebbe looked towards him, the Rebbe started saying something. It looked like the Rebbe wanted to give him an instruction. He became quiet, but the Rebbe started the Sicha instead. The Rebbe stepped forward and started saying the Sicha. The whole Hakafas, the Rebbe was leaning on his stender, in his Moedet. And here the Rebbe stepped forward. Azevis Hazman Groma to Praven Hakafas and Chevron Ir Ha'avis. Basically, the Rebbe said that all Levim should go to the Hakafa. We shall sing the Marsha Yedua to show that Chevron belongs to us, belongs to Levim, belongs to Yidden. Sing the Marsha Yedua. In a sense, I would say, one of my friends was saying, it looked like the Rebbe was paying back for what he didn't do by the march. The march was so short. There was like, he did mamish. But the biggest surprise was, after the Rebbe finished the Sicha, the Rebbe took his siddur, the Rebbe started saying the Psukim Melech Elamim, so high-pitched, I don't know how the Rebbe able to reach so high. Melech Elamim, Heishiyano, like so high, like mamish, very, very high. The Rebbe screamed the Psukim. And there was saying the psukim quietly, the small psukim. And some people started to sing, and some people shy, So as soon as they finished the psukim, the Marsha Yadua. They started singing. There was, he did so much. There was actually a Yid without a beard, right in front of the Rebbe's davening bima. And he was going to the Rebbe like this the whole time with his hand. So the Rebbe made to him also very strong a lot, but it was a very strong hakafa. Simchas Torah night, again, even though it was a Fabringen before Hakafas, but in the middle of Hakafas again, before Hakafa Hey, Melech Elamim, So again, the Rebbe started the Sikha. This time the Rebbe said that all those who are in the army, Tzava, the Mishmar Gvul, and all different types of Mishmar Ezrachi, maybe, all those are different types of the Israeli army should all go to the Hakafa. And then the Rebbe said again, Melech Elamim. In other words, he was chazan for that Hakafa. But the Rebbe didn't go to the middle. The Rebbe was on his davening place. They didn't know what niggin to sing. So after the Rebbe finished the Kwei Psukim, so the Rebbe started singing Hashir Samecha. Where's Lamed Zayin? Lamed Ches, Lamed Tes wasn't here. Tashin Mem. Whatever. I mean, Sukkos Torah was, I think, they were the special ones.
I think your Hakdama was very important. Give the context.
Yeah. What should I say? Mem Daled was a very interesting Shmini Atzeres night. And usually, Shmini Atzeres is like a little contained. The Simcha is not all the way as big as usual. Shmini Atzeres night, Tashin Mem Daled, there was like so mo'eded and such tnuas. I mean, ala sela hochach, there was almost bent over double. His hand stretched out forward, he's bending, and his hand stretched all the way forward, like so freilich the hakafas. And the next night, the Rebbe spoke about it, and the Rebbe said that Maisa with the tkiyas, with with the tkiyas, with the Alter Rebbe, when there was a machlekes, who should win the war?
Yeah.
The Alter, if Napoleon or the Tsar. And it was the sign of Shemaim, whoever blows tkiyas first. And the Rebbe told the story. The Rebbe didn't say the name, who was the other. The Rebbe just wanted to stress he was a person, nish stama, a person. So it's a given an admur, the Rebbe says, like, stressing. And he says, so this admur, he told his people right away to get there, they daven fast. And when he got to shofar, he picked the shofar in his hand, and he said, I remember the Rebbe saying this like loud, the Litvak hat verchapt. Like the Litvak, he did it first.
Alter Rebbe did it already.
The Alter Rebbe was called the Litvak, and he blew for it. What did the Alter Rebbe do? I said, Amal, the Iker shofar should be before davening, just like Lulav is before davening. Then later you take it in davening again. So same thing, shofar should be right in the way. And then you blow again in Musaf. But they stopped. There was a takana because the Romans or whoever it was was getting nervous.
I think because the Shulchan Aruch I was reading, I think it says you're not supposed to do it that early.
Not supposed to do that early? Okay, but the main reason...
Right. Not that you're not in the mitzvah, whatever, mefirtzach, you do it later.
Yeah. But the main reason is the Chacham said not to, because the Goyim are afraid of making an uprising.
Right.
But once you do it in the middle of davening, you see it's part of a ceremony. It's not an uprising, not a rebellion. Anyway, that was the main reason. But the Alter Rebbe went back to the original thing, and he blew shofar first. So you see from this, says there, but sometimes you have to be makdim in Indian before the actual time. So here we were makdim, it was simcha before the actual time of the simcha. So it's like a weird thing. And to the end of this Farengen, the Rebbe says that because the Eiserotz in the time before Hakafas, so every Yid is able to bench another Yid. So everyone should bench, and then at the end, Mamash at the last Sikha, the Rebbe says to be to Fania Maschil. The Rebbe said Yivarechacha Adei, said Hashem's name V'Yishmerecha, and then he said Yair and Riskrin Amen. Yair Havaya, he said, didn't say Hashem's name. Yair Havaya Panav V'Lecha V'Chaneka. The Rebbe said Amen. Yisa Havaya Panav V'Lecha V'Yasam Chashalim V'Ani Avarachim. The next day, they will explain why he didn't say the whole pasuk was Samu, only V'Ani Avarachim. So he said the Samu has to do more of the Koyanim. But V'Ani Avarachim, they didn't know the Eibush, the benchers, everybody. It was a Meirdik Etzir after, between Fabrengen and Hakafas. Everybody's going around benching each other. It was like, and this kiddush outside, everybody's eating there, but people going to each other and everybody's benching each other. It was like Etzir. I mean, they were just benching, and they were hugging each other also.
Yeah.
It was like Where did it get here? That's one thing. Memdalet. So it was a Meifus I
Tom,
saw.
it's an interesting thing that I'm noticing from your tier, and everyone talks about the Rebbe, but two things that you mentioned. I mean, the story of the brachas, and also the way you started, that everyone felt like one.
Yeah.
So it's like the feeling of Simchas Torah brought out, the Barucheinu Avinu Kolonika Echad. Like it's all together.
Yeah. Simchas Torah had this feeling, which is, yeah.
You were saying a Meifus that you saw.
I saw a Meifus. It was the night of Shmini Atzeres Tashim Memdalet, and it was around Lichtenstein time. The Rebbe's davening bima would be moved out for
make place for the
Skanim. There was 2 benches in there, and I saw somebody screaming Hatzalah. It was around Lichtenstein. The Rebbe wasn't there yet.
So the space for the skin was in the front on Mizrach?
No, the right side. I'd say Durham.
Mm-hmm.
And it was called Hatzalah. The Rabbi Yisroel Noach, the head of Tzach, he was, because he had something, maybe a heart attack, whatever it was. Something was going on. I remember as they were taking him out, the Ketzal came in, they took him on a stretcher. And as he passed by them, I was standing like towards the front of the shul, I'd say opposite. There was davening bima in a sense, to the left side of Aron Kodesh, but near the first beam. So came out opposite. And as they took him out, and I see Rabbi Leibo's face, he was on the stretcher. His face was white, like like a white tablecloth, like a white shirt. This was white. He had oxygen on, Anyway, the next part I didn't see, obviously, but they say that they took him into the ambulance, and they remediated the Rebbe that he's not well, and they have to take him to the hospital. The Rebbe said, don't take him to the hospital, because I won't be able to take care of him. Leave him here. Should be by every davening, every hakafis, everything. That night I didn't see him. I don't think they brought him to hakafis that night, but from the next day, davening, fabrengen, everything, he was there. By the fabrengen before hakafis, they pushed aside 2 benches where the skanim would sit behind the Rebbe, and he was on there in a wheelchair behind the Rebbe. By hakafis, Leil Simchas Torah, he's on the Rebbe's bima on a wheelchair. Now the Rebbe's bima would be, it wasn't packed. It was full of people. Anybody who felt he had an excuse to be there would be on the Rebbe's bima. They would bend down so not to block everyone, but it'd be full, like whatever. And he's on the wheelchair, a little past the Rebbe, not to block the oilam. He's on a wheelchair. In the middle of one of the nigunim, and I see the Rebbe's like looking through the people to catch his eyes, and the Rebbe starts clapping towards him. And he was like schwach, his hands were hanging over the edges of the arms of the wheelchair. It's like unkoyach, and his face is white. And there was looking for him. There was like clapping towards him. And somebody pokes him, like, look, there was looking at you. So he looks up. And there was like, ooh. So he starts clapping. I remember my eyes were popping out. I see Pasha, his face, which is white, starts to get red. He starts to come back to himself. Anyway, a day after Simchas Torah, I saw him walking around regular.
You Pasha saw this with your own eyes?
Yeah, I saw it. I'd say the only time I saw a Meifus with my own eyes. I was like, there was making a Meifus in front of everybody. Most people I talk to don't remember it.
Yeah, I never heard this.
If you look there's a Yoman of Rishuma Shulshana, Tashim Dalad.
That whole story.
And they don't have the whole story. They just mention he was
I'm
well.
saying the reference.
The Rebbe asked about him, That's one thing. Anyway, Hey, Mavav. Hey is actually the first time I saw the Rebbe showing to whistle on Yom Tov. There was somebody, the whole office was whistling on the left side of Aron Kodesh. Remember?
It happened before.
The bleachers.
So the first time you saw the Rebbe.
But here, at the end, it was after Alein already, mamash the end, they said, yet, they returned to the wall. They were showed to whistle. And that was like, on Yom Tov. I remember I was talking to somebody on the phone, a shliach, after Yom Tov. I told him, they ever said to whistle. I said, wow. Because in this famous Sikha, Purim Tashlam Atvav, the Rebbe says, not Shabbos and Yontif.
Yeah.
So here, it was said to whistle on Yontif. Okay, it's Simchas Torah. So it was a big chiddush.
It's not the same thing as clapping.
Yeah, I don't know. It happened even more than that. Tashin Nun Beis, there was one time they were said to whistle on Shabbos. Which is even bigger chiddush. I wasn't here then. Anyway, Vav was there, turned over the cup. It was also a Meredith scene, middle of Hakafis. And that's also the Mishpat of the Sfarim was like looming in the background, you know. Mm-hmm. I can't say Mamash thinking of it the whole time. But in the middle of Farbrengen, there was suddenly turned over his cup. I can't say Mamash noticed this. Somebody tells me he saw the Rebbe going like that to take out every drop. But the Rebbe turned over the cup, and the Rebbe starts showing to both sides. Like hard to know, what does the Rebbe want? They say Yael Khan was the first to chap, and he turned over whatever was next to him. Then the Rebbe said something about to empty the kelim, not to pour out, not to waste it.
And then there's the mice with the Rebbetzin afterwards.
Yeah. But then the Rebbe held the kois mistama for like an hour. A sicha, a nigen, everything. And I think also they sung the Alasala Hachach. And I remember the Rebbe was holding the kois in his hand.
The upside down kois.
Upside down. And the Rebbe was waving the kois and making freilach. The Rebbe was explaining the sicha. There was what's the name of a cup upside down. So just like on the Menorah, the Tzir, the Rambam puts all the cups upside down. What's it upside down? Just like the windows of the Beis HaMikdash. The light goes from outside. It's the same way. The name of Hashpah comes from the Beis HaMikdash to everywhere. That's why the cup's are upside down. So Mela is the Indian of holding a cup upside down. It's like her next to me, Shimon Hecht is next to me. As I ever said, he goes, wow, like what a beer. That was an explanation. I remember in the middle, I'm staying on my place where Fabrengen was more on to the Rebbe's left, closer to the back of the shul. And I see on the bleacher on the other side, the Aron Kodesh side, I suddenly happened to notice a kid, Bacher, whatever, maybe he's 15 years old, something like that, 15, 16, around that age. Stop, I noticed Bacher, he's holding a cup with something in the mashko wine inside his cup. And he's like standing and holding and smiling from the situation. And I think to myself, you're supposed to turn your cup over. What are you doing? There's no way I can get a message to him. The split second I thought that, they were like, turn to him, like an emergency, showing his cup, showing that there was showing his becher to him, like, it's supposed to be upside down. And the becher really, by the way, from where I'm standing on top of a high bench in that Fabrengen. There was no Mekaymus Kavua by Simchas Torah before Hakafis. There was no Mekaymus Kavuim. And I saw from down there, people are bringing in bottles and bottles. I figure they were said to empty the bottles. It's maybe like Zayer's off, whatever. I saw bottles, all different kind of whiskey and Drambuie and Benedictine. I saw like bottles flying in.
So there wasn't a lot of drinking Simchas Torah.
Generally not. In front of the Rebbe, because you want to see, you want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
But here I think it was a little more because Zayer's Hakafis was quite, I'd say the Eilam. I mean, Eilam was always frail. And I said, but Memches, there's nothing like Memches. It was the last time I was here at Simchas Torah. There's nothing like Memches.
Everybody talks about Memches.
Everybody. One of my wife's uncles, Tenenbaum, Eli Tenenbaum, he said to me, I remember Hakafis from Tashin Yud Dalet. I said, I remember all the years. There never was Hakafis like Memches. Never. I mean, it's remembering enough from Tashin Yud Dalet. Never was like a Memches. Some say that the Rebbe, I couldn't notice from where I was standing, some say the Rebbe brought down an old kapota, which the threads were coming out, like ready for work. All I remember is the first night. I don't remember too much from the first night. But the Rashag was complaining, it was cold. He always gave him the second pasuk in Ataresa. So this I was told later. He was like, whatever, uncomfortable. So Rebbe asked Baruch Yonik, what does he want? And it's cold. And it's cold, all like a gay night. It's cold, I'll go upstairs. I remember they're taking him out during a niggin between our races. And I felt bad for him as they're schlepping him out. And the Rebbe starts to be the crowd was going like, wow. And anyway, this is the first time. Usually a niggin Simchas Torah would be 5-7 minutes. Nemches, every niggin was 10-15 minutes. The Olam could not keep up with the Rebbe. The person felt it. There was no koiches. And the Rebbe's eyes were burning. He was like looking to everybody and like schlepping out of you the koiches, which you never knew you had. It's like, it's unexplainable. Now, the place where I was standing in later years, I couldn't see the Rebbe when he danced in the middle. And mostly, I'd seen the Rebbe a few times dancing with Rashag. Rashag, he didn't have koyach the later years, danced for a minute.
Yeah, I read in one of the Yumanim from Zayin that the Rebbe basically cut it short.
The Rebbe cut it short?
Yeah, it says like the Rebbe, because the Rebbe didn't want to be matriach. Whatever, it was hard for Rashag.
It was very hard for him. And even the first time I remember I saw Lamed Vav, Rashag is dancing, his face is white, and he's like almost like catching his breath.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I heard from Rabbi Sodak, he said during the Yom Kippur War, by day, so the Rebbe threw his talus over his face, and there was like, Fadveket, you see, the Rebbe was not in this world, and there was like, and Rashag he tried to stop the Rebbe, but the Rebbe wasn't in this world. So, he says, two guys went and held Rashag to help him go around. He didn't have koyach. But generally, he was right. So the later years, it didn't bother me I still had a place in the front, so I'd be able to see the Rebbe there. So I was standing as a whole bleacher. I was at the bottom of a bleacher, but it was like, and the whole bleacher could all the way in the front, on the left side. We couldn't see the Rebbe in the middle. There was no chance. So we're singing, we're not singing, don't see the Rebbe. Suddenly one of us says, look. Says, what? So you see over there, on the one side, and everybody's screaming, the faces are red, screaming all the colors.
Oh, that's how it worked, the people that saw.
And then,
yeah.
And then I suddenly see them all catching their breath. And the other side, they're red in the face, they're screaming.
As the Rebbe turned around.
A minute and a half, and then the Rebbe was turning around and see the Sefer Torah. He was holding the Sefer Torah in his hand. We made it. The Rebbe started his father's niggin mistana. I don't remember exactly. But the other officer, the Rebbe made us work hard. I remember the Rebbe's eyes like burning. Everybody says the Rebbe has blue eyes. I never noticed it. But the Rebbe's like, I remember it black. I don't know. The Rebbe's eyes are burning. But not sharp. Like, I don't know, pulling a koyach out of you. It was like looking at everybody. But the most, which I can't forget, is after the 7th hakafa, Lil Simchas Torah. And the Rebbe came back, and instead of giving back the Sefer Torah, I remember Kogan was standing. Everybody tells me I'm wrong, but I remember Kogan, from Leningrad.
Which you just had a feature article on him. In the head, yeah.
Uh-huh. So I remember he was standing there to take the Sefer Torah from the Rebbe and put it back in the Aron Kodesh. But the Rebbe came back to his place. Instead of giving the Sefer Torah, he went up with the Sefer Torah in his hand, and he went up on his bimah, and the Rebbe's waited for the Mashbakim, whatever, all the guys on the Rebbe's bimah to go down, bend down, and the Rebbe started Faratzta. I have never, ever seen a dance like that. And there was jumping. I mean, Begashmi, how old's the Rebbe? How old's the Rebbe? It's jumping. I will not forget, at one point, I saw the Rebbe's shoes in the air. He was jumping so much. It was a long time. I didn't look at the clock, but it was a long time, this niggin. And there was jumping and jumping and jumping, and Sefer Torah to all sides, and being ma'oided. Then after the niggin was over, so Kogan reaches forward, he wants to get the Sefer Torah, and label around and goes, get away. Because he saw there wants to sing another niggin. It was started yet. It wasn't as much as Faratzta, but still Freilach. And then there takes the Sefer Torah, and he gives such a kiss. I've never seen the Rebbe kissing anything. I mean, the Rebbe kissed film, you don't see it that much. It was such an ahava. I mean, everybody who saw it, you've never seen a kiss in your life. He kissed the Torah with his mouth before he gave it over to Kogan. I've never seen a kiss like that. It brought tears to my eyes. I've never seen anything like it. It was such a kiss. It was like, you see the Avos HaTorah, it was unbelievable. And it was a Meredika, Simchas Torah. Guys told me, later I was in Shlichus, I wasn't able to be here. The guys told me, if you had to choose a Simchas Torah to be the last one, that was a good choice. Whatever. Anyway. Chaim Shibuzoicha again.
Amen. Yeshakech.
Yeah.
And so sehen sich mit den Rebbe this year.
Amen.